I'm Allison Racino from West Greenwich. I have one child in the school system. I have a third grader at Metcalf. What I wanted to bring up tonight, and this is something that will have to go on the agenda in the upcoming months. I promise to keep it to 5 minutes for you. I wanted to talk to you all about Common Core, and I just wanted to hear how much, we'll discuss this at another meeting, how much you all know about Common Core. I am a very concerned parent. I have been able to read over the past year and a half a lot of negative comments about Common Core across the country. What the Common Core is the government gave each state some stimulus money, and in 2009, these standards were imposed on all our children, whether it be Rhode Island or Florida, Indiana, Oklahoma. They wanted all the kids to be taking the same lessons across the board. So, for example, I have a Rhode Island child. If my child decided to move to California, the standards would be the same. So my child could kind of pick up where he left off. Deborah Gist is no longer here. She actually lived over home, but she was the school commissioner. And she took the stimulus money for Rhode Island and all the towns in Rhode Island to adopt the standards. What I do want you to know is that with these standards, our teachers in Exeter West Greenwich cannot go above and beyond teaching. What teachers are just doing is they're teaching to the test. They're just teaching the material that the kids would be tested on. So this way your teachers cannot be creative. The standards are primarily English and math, and the committee that put the standards together.
Do you want to address the committee as far as something you want to share as far as educating us on Common Core and programs? We're all actually educating on it. Okay, we know it. Maybe you got it there. Great. So is there any comment that you'd like to make about it? And then I think there's a lot of kids that we can recognize.
Okay, that's great. I'm hoping that we can bring this up at the next meeting or perhaps before school starts in September. I just need you to know that you probably don't know, the testing company that wrote the tests was Pearson's, and that's a publishing company. So that's a marketer. And you should know that there was very little teacher input. So the material that our kids learn, especially pre-K through 8, were not even written by teachers. They were written by non-academic people. The PARCC tests have a lot of flaws. can't protect their children anymore. Everything's out in the open.
I think I'm having a job. So, thank you very much for sharing. Well, we are all educated on, what's coming for it. Okay. Well,
respond, because right now you're not allowed to respond, and
Okay.
what you're presenting is one side, and there are other sides to the conversation, and it's unfair to be able to have a one-sided conversation right now. It is on our radar, we will have it on the agenda, everybody can comment, we must be able to respond.
Okay, that sounds good.
Thank you.
Okay, I look forward to it. I'll check these minutes.
thank you. Thank you, Beth.
Just to bring awareness to something, I know many of you may have heard of the tragic accident of the Bristol police officer, Richard Gene Georges. What you may not know is that he had two siblings who graduated recently from here, Manny and Cindy. And so I just bring that up because it brings it home, it brings it to our community. They grew up in West Greenwich, and it's part of our community. So when you go home, you just think of, keep them in your thoughts because it was pretty tragic. Manny's okay. He was actually the other person who was injured and swept away, but he was thankfully rescued. I worked with their father, Manny, at Raytown, and a great family. They need all our thoughts and our prayers, so just think of them. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, we have recognitions and achievements. Very exciting night tonight. We have our gymnastic team here, our hockey team, and cheerleading team. We're all extremely proud of all of you. Division champions, gymnastic team, state champions. Fabulous job. And I do want to take a moment to thank the parents because I know you all do a lot of fundraising for these teams. And thank you very much for supporting them and supporting your children. Okay, so turn over to Mr. Yanakis. I'm going to recognize the gymnastics team first.
Again, our gymnastics team is the state championship team for Division II gymnastics. Quite exciting. And the players, Haley Ojeri. Megan Capwell.
Thanks so much.
Grace Carew.
Thank you so much.
Erin Connolly.
Oh, here you go.
Eden Francoeur. Haley Harrington. Madeline Quigley. Erin Stewart. Hannah Teft. And Liana Young. And we also would like to recognize Coach Haley Kroll.
boys hockey Division III champions.
And girls.
And girls. Or I should say, and Ariana.
So the one center is with that highlighted on the Got it. Okay, this is our division championship hockey team. And we have Brendan Sheridan. Josh Reardon. Ariana Ventura.
Congratulations.
Patrick Fields. You're the captain of the team. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Ivan Forcier is also a captain. John Duquette. Jared Olson. Zach Dion. Alex Ventura. Anthony Ventura. This is to recognize the volunteer coach for the team who is representing the coaching staff tonight, Mr. Mark.
He didn't play this year. I don't think it's single cheerleader.
Okay, next we have our division championship winter competition cheerleading squad, varsity squad. Alexandra Andrade.
I don't think a single one's.
Are any of the cheerleaders here?
No, I don't see the coach either.
Well, let me just read all of their names, and then we will congratulate them, and we'll make sure that they get their awards. Amanda Bartolini, Caitlin Connolly, Nicole Delbonis, Amy DeMello, Danielle Duarte, Emma Lyman, Amber Maldonado, Heather McSorley, Carissa Otrando, Valerie Pacino, Haley Shaw, Sydney Smeals, Olivia Teft, and Alexandra Walker. Head coach is Miss Joya Greenway.
If I was you guys, I'd be out.
survey of school committee training, the program was unveiled. Upon completion of 15 hours of training, school committee members will receive special recognition from the school, from Rhode Island Board of Education. Also, school committee members receive a certificate after attending each session. So, thank you for your dedication and putting in all those hours, because I know how it is to go extra hours on nights and Saturdays, and I'm sure you get learned a lot. It's all worth it. Thank you. I know no dog on arbitrary.
Compensation.
Okay, our student liaison.
So the presentation agenda item, the student liaison monthly report, Noah is in the middle of exams right now, but there is a submitted report that needs to be reviewed.
And we do have a certificate from the school committee and Hartford Hall. So we'll give that back to Jim. Tell us a big job. Thank you very much. I'll sign this in a email.
We had a good time with it last night.
Okay, the consent agenda.
Okay, we have the approval of the regular meeting minutes of May 26th and executive session meetings of May 26th. There is a job share request for a teacher who is coming back to us after 2 years of layoff, and so she's going to come back in the second semester, job share with a teacher who we are also able to call back this evening, who's had held a half-time job, so it's kind of worked out really nicely. There is a list of recalls. Remember, we had a very limited number of teachers who we had to give layoff to, and we're able to call back more than half of them today. At the next meeting, we anticipate calling back most, possibly one, maybe left off, at least for the moment. But these are all known positions based on knowledge of the schedule and things that we can discuss. And then our monthly bills, and there is an early homeschool approval for next year for a returning family.
We're going to be full.
Maybe should make a motion to accept the consent agenda. Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Let's see, correspondence, disciplinary reports, the school committee, to a vote. Oh, the remarkable, yeah. So that's remarkable. Okay, 14, 15, budget projection.
That's those. And again, we're looking like we're pretty well on target. The purchasing is winding down for the year, and we're looking like we're into the surplus, so that's all.
Sure, this is the way that I've been reporting subcommittee work for quite some time. We have information, but I know Mr. Massett is here.
Yes.
To present.
Did you get the permission slip and the itinerary? Both? Okay, excellent. Just
Okay, you don't have that.
okay, this is the permission slip. This is actually provided by the company, the travel company. It's the same one that was used this year. Same company. It was for many reasons. So, does anyone have any questions for me?
Sounds like a great trip.
You know, we were able to keep the cost down. So this year's trip was close to $700. So we looked to keep that cost down. We were able to stay under five, just under five, and that includes everything else except for 1 and 2. So
And there is fundraising that is scheduled so that it.
yeah, we've been doing a ton of fundraising, and it's really up to class council how much they want to put towards the trip. One of the things, it depends on how many kids go on the trip. Because the class raises money, more kids tend to go from, and we usually offset that cost. But we leave it up to class council.
How about this year?
36, I believe. What happened is originally the schedule, sports schedule had playoffs the weekend of this trip this year, but then it turns out there was a lot of snow days. Schedule got pushed back, all the kids are backed out, so they were actually low this year. Yeah, or after the trip back out.
I was looking at the cost, we're going to get one participation.
That's what we're hoping. That's why we went over.
Any motion to approve? Second. All in favor? Opposed, abstentions, motion carries. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Policies. Policy 8608, health and safety of student athletes.
If you recall, those of you that were on the committee in the early part of last year, when football season started, there was a release of a bid for insurance. And when that bid was released, it happened to be the day that there was a practice, and all the students were required by our policy to purchase that insurance. The insurance cost for all of the teams was $20. And then for the football team, it was $200. So they differentiated by that sport. And it required us to do a lot of work to get together and figure out what we were going to do to address the issue, get the kids back on the field, because by our policy, we require them all to purchase the school insurance. So now we did do a waiver program last year. There were no incidents. It worked out okay. But there were some risks involved, and those risks are, we require the families to provide proof of insurance at the beginning of the season, but that there is no guarantee that that insurance wasn't dropped at some point during the season. And so there's always that possibility that exists. The reason that we require this insurance is because we knew at that point whether or not the family had insurance, they were always covered through that plan. So we've come up with a strategy where basically every athlete will be required to continue to be required to pay for purchase that school insurance, but every athlete, regardless of sport, will pay the exact same amount, and the school then would take care of the differential. And so we know that after the uproar at the beginning, the new bid was released and went back down to 50. So it was 20 for everybody, 50 for football. That creates a $30 differential. That's what it is that we cover at this point. This gives a little bit of protection in that if the differential exceeds $30, then we can implement a waiver program like we did last time. It's appropriate.
do know that the football team actually has already had a meeting, and they have everything set out on a list, and it's very structured. So it does have to come to Bob to share notes from now on. The football team has to come to Bob to get the packet together and go off, because we have to make up a difference. The other teams will remain the same. The coaches and our athletic director.
I'll say this, it is way less of an administrative responsibility than the way the process was this past year. Because when you think about the amount of time that had to go into that, it wasn't just about administering the waiver process. We actually had to create the waiver process. You know, there was a lot that went into that. So, and it was quick, so kind of everything else went on inside, but that became our priority. So yes, this is a little bit more work than the way that it used to be, but it is a massive improvement to what happened this past year. It was successful, but it was a reaction. Because we had like a day to get it done. This is something that we've spent quite a bit of time.
Who was the FIFA? Yeah, it's the same. They pretty much hold that.
So, and you may recall, a few years ago, the second checks in or something, so to Terry's point, there's still a big gaps, so that's the phone call, you know, to make sure that they don't sit at our desk.
And that's when we had that discussion. It was my first year here. That's when we got together as a small group and through the handbook and police handbook. We did a complete revision of all that layout, responsibilities, and the procedures that we put in place to make sure that they happen. I mean, it's always room for an error to occur, but we've put a lot of things in place to make sure that we prevent that.
I have a quick question. Are they required to have a physical before each sports season? Okay, because the wording in here, it sounds like it says shall be required before each. So if they have one per year, they're covered. Okay.
What page are you
On page 2, the third, in the red, the third one down, it just says, it requires every student athlete to have a physical examination, shall be conducted at the student's expense, and shall be required before each sports season which the student athlete participates. So if you are a 3-season athlete, you only need one physical. Just sounds like you need 3, yeah.
I think the intent of that is that
Just to make sure that-
the third season.
Right.
They have to play the winter season or the fall season.
Right. Okay.
But I understand how it can read.
We have the annual.
the other thing that it does is it addresses the, I don't know if people are aware of the governor's budget proposal, where there's that bank of money for students to access if it ends up passing. If that budget passes, there's a bank of money for students to access for tuition for college level classes, either on the campus of the local high school, or if kids actually go to a college campus as a supplement to their high school program. So we're not sure if that is or isn't going to exist, or if it is going to exist, will it be in place for next year, or will it be in place for the year after? We're not sure. But we've addressed the financial responsibility, and we've also added a section on rating course credit and accommodations, just to be sure that if the course is taken on our campus, it's consistent with our rating requirements. If it's taken on the college campus, it's consistent with the college rating requirements. This policy, as amended, meets all of the requirements of RIGL 16103 and 4, which, like I said, requires all districts to have this in place by the end of June this year.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
First up, the dual enrollment grades that are taken last week.
They do, however, they can be awarded as upper policy credit to meet their graduation requirements. We do not incorporate that into what you can get at the high school, but what we do is attach transcripts from the college to their high school transcripts to be sent with their packet, their final credit.
So that's how that's right.
How is this information transmitted to the students and families?
Well, it has been, because we haven't.
No, but what's included is there?
It will all happen through the guidance department, and we do a full school mailing from the guidance department by mail, and we can also be using technology, but this will be part of that program. We're also going to put this in the student handbook program. A lot of this information, like you see this reference to Community College of Rhode Island from the STAR program, Johnson Wales program. A lot of this stuff is already contained in informational packets that are available to the families and parents. This is for program studies, for example. We're trying to pull out examples and tie them into all these different definitions.
All in favor? Motion passes. 7603, municipal graduation requirements.
So you'll see that there's very little red. Really, it's because the policy that we just approved, 7602, has some minor implications for 7603. This is just to make sure that policy 7603 is consistent with the policy that we just adopted.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed or abstentions? Okay, unfinished business, we have the science exhibit that Bob will write columns. Sorry. Erasing that. Okay, back to new business. We have the awarding of the school safety construction project.
So this is, this is hot off the press. This was late breaking news today, so it's just 25th, 2015, 2015 sealed bids were received. 3 construction firms requested, they received bid specs, and we received 3 bids. There was a pre-bid meeting in late May, and based on the turnout at that meeting, an addendum was issued by at the recommendation of the architect to insert as an addendum a scoring rubric, which you see on the second page. And this is kind of a new, not new, but I'm seeing it in more bids across the state, and it's really designed to protect districts from having to go to a low bid bidder. But not only that, but also to demonstrate that there's some due diligence and that there's equity in the way that we're scoring, and there's some thought to it. That addendum, along with the bids, were sent to our legal counsel. I just walked in on cue for review to make sure that we were on good standing, because looking at page 2, you can see that the low bid was $645,000, and then the next was $865,000, and then the high bid was $935,000. And with sans the rubric, we would go low bid, and that was not the desired firm that the architect was recommending. I will give you some information regarding why, but I'm going to withhold names in the district, but rest assured due diligence was done. This was from an individual who serves as a project manager, so there's someone that was hired by a district, or URI hired them, East Providence hired them. Comments were fought over the little things, would not take deductions for having the school to clean up. So in other words, the contract is language around keeping the area neat. Did not do that. The school had to spend resources to make it a safe and clean environment. They asked for a credit. They haggled over that. Significantly, they lacked on-site management. More significantly, they resisted working multiple buildings at a time, which is central to this project. You've got to hit the building. And then critical, but a little harder to discern in doing the due diligence, is that subs would leave the job. And the reason being is that they would not be paid time. But it's very hard to get a sub to say that, because they need to work for the GECs. Another individual who would be the facility manager at this particular district. It was a summer project. They started late, so they didn't start. They said they were going to. The project was supposed to be done at the end in September of 2014. They're still finishing up little bits of the project with his own staff. This is a direct quote. Worst summer of his life. That was last year. It's a little self-presentation. And further, that company would never work again in the district. So based on that, on the bid tabulation, if you look at the references, the high score that you could have received was 35. So along with Toronto and myself, we called for each contractor, we called 5 references. And the logic being that a good reference, for every good reference, you get 7 points. For every bad, you got 7 points. So, and we stopped at 5 just simply because it was getting repetitive. And with the 2 individuals that I just referenced on 2 different job sites, that warrant warranted 14-point deduct on the references. The other references for both other bidders were fine. The cost is the next factor of the rubric. And the math behind that is you take the low bid, divide it by the low bid, which would give you 1, and you multiply by 30, which is the maximum amount of points. So the low bidder will always get the maximum amount of points. And then the next one, you follow that math logic. So the recommended Urbane, they ended up with a 22.4 on there for a total score of 92.4. And Track was at a 20.7 on the cost for a total of 90.7. The high score was Urbane, and we're going with the recommendation. Coming out of the last school committee meeting, we're showing that, the alternates are a good thing to delineate because just for sheer knowledge. And you can see that for each alternate 1, 2, and 3, it would be a delete if the committee or once the project gets out and going. So those are further reductions that could be taken by the school district if they want to. And those would come back as a reduced cost. The concrete footings, those are the ballards that are going around the concrete in the courtyard. The bullet-resistant film, that's on every piece of glass. The architect is saying, if you have the money, you might as well do that because that's pretty much the integrity of alternate. And then alternate 3 is delete junior. It says junior, senior high, but that's actually the junior high overhead doors. Mrs. Emery's room now. She has 2 overhead doors that egress to the kind of the throughway into the courtyard. And where they're cutting down the trees, that's where their outdoor STEM park is going to be. So I think that's something that the building committee can look at as we go along. There are 2 doors, so maybe we keep one. Bullet resist the glass on that. I don't know why. It's something that we can look at as we go along. And none of the alternates need to be decided at this point.
I was going to say, why don't we just discuss what we're in versus those, the garage?
Yeah,
We'll discuss it.
Right, I think is, so.
Look at the cost of those 3 things, and I'm dividing it by half, right? Because we're getting half reimbursed.
Yes.
So, 6,450, 12,000, 750. I mean, those 3 things to me were actually big part pieces, I think, that were needed.
Yeah.
And they're such small amounts, so I don't know.
What's-
I trust you guys in the building committee to make the right decision, but I'm fine with moving them all.
What's the, how does the proposed bidder, how does that work as far as what was budgeted for this project? Because if memory serves me right, it's a little higher than what was budgeted.
Yeah, he's a little over. I think we had on target for like 825,000 was the total estimated project that Gerardo had provided us. So we're a little bit over on that, and that's
What's are there now about the kicker? I know with the tennis courts, we found some hidden problems that the likelihood, if memory serves me right, that there being anything hidden in this is minimal. So this should be firm fixed price. We should be able to walk away and not see anything.
Yeah, there's, I don't envision any surprises. While it's the scope of the work, it's pretty straightforward on the storefronts. And I think they went over Metcalf, which is probably one of the more challenging ones. They went over that.
But the tennis courts,
We couldn't see.
yeah, you couldn't see it.
Here you can see it.
So just my experience with our architect is, he likes to give us surprises at the last minute. But I mean, because I actually went out after we had our discussion, I reviewed what was going on over there. They're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Okay. Is what it is, we gotta get it. Now, does this qualify also for the state?
Yes, we got this in this year.
Then that's
Possibly.
that's a no-brainer.
Yeah, it's happened.
I make a motion to approve the project.
Second. Any more discussion?
Urbane construction work.
All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Carried. Yes. Thank you, Bob, all that one. Thank you.
I'm just filling in the spreadsheet that I usually, for capital spreadsheet that I usually update. So we have a couple of things that I need to break up. So that we're still, we're skipping to the unfinished business. The only thing that change at this point is the filling what we just looked at. So I'll make sure that I do that. So if there's a question that we have to make sure that the reimbursable figures carry out the requirements that are on the sheet. But we're still in very good shape, even with that bid. We have the minimum amount required by policy 3305, and still flexibility, especially when we factor in the 50% reimbursable projects.
Okay, so that's, I don't think that one was carried that. No, it was carried pretty close to the fire. I'm sure.
I did. Well, I actually carried the tennis courts originally,
Oh, okay.
and then we got word that that was reimbursable, so I took it out and made that
Then
correction.
we're fine.
They're both on your this year. We're going to get that done. Okay, the outside use case.
All right. Take
They're like, oh.
maybe 3 and 4. So we went back to the drawing board on this and made the corrections and listened to the recommendations of the committee. And so it is still Delta Education as the recommendation. The base price for year one is $51,590. Or the base price, which covers, what is that? K through 6 for 3 years, for 3 years. K to 5 for 3 years is $51,590. And then year two, there is another element of the bid that covers K2 through year 2 and 3 for a total of $70,050. The question regarding the premium content that is included in the Delta Education bid, and I did request in writing from Delta the exactly what premium content was and what it entailed. And I'll just quote. Premium content for both the 3-year, which was the base, and the 2-year bid, which was the second element, includes student access to our premium content. This will allow your students online access to ebooks and other student material on our FOSS website. So this is content, a product or an element of the product that the students get to go on. The standard is the FOSS website, which every teacher can get on, but the students don't. That's between the two. And there's Student access is considered premium content and is an extra charge. However, we're providing it at no charge as part of our James Net schools, as I'm offered to James Net schools. So it is a premium, it is typically an upcharge, but they're not, and that's what gave them the advantage as detailed in the bid calculation. So,
We had discussed last time.
Just wanted to make sure I'm reviewing this and support.
Approve the Delta Education fall science kit award for $70,000.
Second. All in favor? Thank you. Anything else on that? Okay, reports and comments? Yep, I think, Chairman.
Budget's been approved, when we inspected the amplification system.
You can't purchase an application system until after July 1st because the fiscal year.
Okay.
So it's, I have to do my calendar, just to remind myself to do it right.
Curious if you should hear my voice.
Yeah.
I tried. Okay, okay. We're all set for graduation. All squared away. 3 o'clock, Kevin, there's a luncheon at 1:30. And after ours, if you want to host a luncheon, everyone got your invitation, right?
Yes.
Good. All right. And close. Everybody's got their. Did you hear that? Good. All right. Important dates, so we have graduation Saturday. Friday the 19th, we have the junior academy up ceremony. We're trying to do that. And then Tuesday, June 23rd. That's what we do. Okay. Executive session.